Can ghosts drink alcohol? Where does jumping end and levitation begin? Answers to these questions and more on this episode of This Paranormal Life! Hello!
Hey!
And welcome back to This Paranormal Life, the weekly comedy podcast where every Tuesday you're joined by me, Kit Mulvena, this guy sitting across from me, Mr. Rory Powers, where we jump into a different paranormal case each week, deciding by the end whether we think it's real or not. How the hell are you doing today, Rory?
I'm doing great. Really excited to be recording an episode of the podcast. It's been a bit of a crazy morning. I was at the Apple headquarters in London today, which was really cool.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Had to get up early for that. They had a whole presentation for podcasters. Stole a bunch of free iPads that were just kind of lying around in the lobby, which was really cool. You know, you get something out of it as well. Stole a bunch of pastries. Stole a real apple as well, which was pretty cool. And then
you stole the apple? I thought they kept that in a jar like Steve Jobs' brain.
there was kind of a breakfast buffet, and one of the things you could get was an apple. So I assumed.
I assumed Apple Corporation was based on an apple that was kind of hidden like the Allspark in Transformers.
Oh, right, like the one from
Yes.
the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
You know, it's got like 2 bite marks out of it. One was Adam, who committed the original sin, and the other one was Steve Jobs. Like, granted him the knowledge to create the iPhone.
The second crazy enough to take a bite.
So it's been really hectic. I then had to run back, grab a bunch of stuff, get over to the studio, pause for a brief 5 minutes because there was a cat on the road that I had to give some attention to. But now I'm here.
Did
And
you hit a cat with your car? What happened?
No, I just wanted to pet him, hang out for a little bit. He was under a car, so we hung out, gave him some pets. He rolled over.
So that apple
chilling.
thing, that sounds... Because you made it sound pretty casual, like it was for like a bunch of podcasters. But yeah, you were actually specially invited to it as well. Like it was pretty good, right?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it wasn't that great because the elephant in the room is the Kit was also invited to the event this morning.
Huh.
And you...
Oh, yeah.
You tried to...
I almost forgot. Yeah.
Yeah. You tried to make it, but your flight was delayed.
Was I invited? I don't know if... I feel like... Really?
You were, yeah.
Yeah.
Because Phil went and he took your name tag. He was wearing Kit all day, so...
Yeah. No, I had a good morning too. So I kind of sat on the tarmac. I was grounded, sat on
in
the
an
tarmac.
airport or just in the driveway?
Yeah, not in a kind of just stop oil, like climate protest way. I was trying to fly. I was desperately trying to get to the Apple headquarters. And we were grounded. We were grounded for kind of 2+ hours, I think.
Yikes.
I was going to get there in real good time. I actually got up, this is no word of a lie, I got up at 4:30 this morning because I was so excited.
Because it's like an hour and a half drive to the airport.
Not even, I was already in Belfast. I was so excited to get to the airport. I got up, I had my breakfast all planned out. I wore a sport coat. I don't know if you saw that on the way into the office. I wore a sport coat because I thought Tim Cook was going to be there. So, and I couldn't have been more excited. Got onto the plane. I actually text my sweetheart, Danielle. She said, everything going to plan? I said, everything going to plan, honey. Gonna get there in loads of time. And then I literally did text that. And then I'd say 30 seconds afterwards, they said, we're getting delayed by about 2 hours 30.
Yeah.
A clean 2 hours 30.
That's, which is weird because this is presumably the first flight of the entire day.
7:05 a.m., that's right. Yeah, 7:05 a.m., I'm sitting on the plane. So I had a lot of time on the tarmac to kind of refresh. My phone is it's like midday right now. My phone is on 15% charge because I had so much time to kind of...
We got free chargers in a goodie bag, so you can probably use one of those if you want.
Really?
Yeah, free Apple MagSafe chargers. So they're just giving them away.
And I had plenty of time to kind of digest all the photos and videos you guys were sending from the headquarters, all the selfies with the staff there, and all that kind of. It's a pretty amazing headquarters it looked like as well.
This is really cool. Yeah, really futuristic and awesome.
And arguably, it was an unmissable experience because I think
once in a lifetime for sure.
We've almost been podcasting for a decade, and like we've never got an invitation like that, so it doesn't really seem like it'll happen again.
No, they said this was the last one as well.
I'm gonna kill myself for sure. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I might get this podcast out of the way, but then
Me and Phil were probably the worst people to send to an event like this because you were supposed to check in at the front desk and be escorted up into the elevators to the main building. I kicked open the front door and yelled, "Let Tim cook!" And they escorted me in handcuffs from the premises. Handcuffs! The audacity to handcuff a gentleman like me.
No, you gave up your gentleman card the moment you kicked down the door.
I said, where's the apple? Show me the apple. I'm trying to keep the doctor away. I'm sorry you missed it, Kit. It truly was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. But you know what else is a once-in-a-lifetime experience? Well, we do it every week, actually. So we do it quite a few times.
What, recording the podcast?
Recording the podcast.
Yeah.
Talking about paranormal stories.
It's not quite a once-in-a-lifetime experience if I think we're almost on episode 400.
Yeah. We're doing another one today.
And we've done hundreds more bonus episodes too, so...
Yeah, I was just trying to find like silver lining or something, like something positive.
We've actually got the Independent Podcast Awards tonight. That's kind of exciting.
That's very cool.
If I wasn't certain we're going to lose.
Yeah. Well, no,
I think I'll
sorry.
just skip it. I think I'll skip it, to be
yeah.
honest. Even I know I'm here, but I might just get the next flight home, man, to be honest. I need to snap out of this. Brrr, all right. Hey.
Yeah.
I'm just going to mentally pretend I was there. Damn, that was fun, Rory. All right,
good,
let's get
right?
into today's. I'm crying. And we're going to get into an amazing case today, Rory. We're not here to talk about our day or what we've been up to. We're here to talk about the paranormal.
Right.
At the end of the day, whether Tim wants to give me the Hollywood handshake like in British Bake Off at the Apple headquarters or not, I'm going to be podcasting about the paranormal day in, day out for the rest of my life. Let's start with the present. Let's start right now. I've got a crazy case for you. We do need to take a quick break though before we get into it. It is exciting. Hey, come back after the break. I promise I have a big case.
We'll be in better moods. Kit's gonna take 5 now, I think, and just splash some water on his face.
I've got my pint of water here to do the ice bucket challenge in 1 second. I need a teaser. This case is happening, maybe the most dramatic point in recent human history.
Wow.
This paranormal case set right then and there.
All right. I'm glad we're taking a break as well, because this will give me a second to charge my Apple Vision Pro.
You got a Vision Pro, bro?
Yeah, they were just giving them away.
That thing costs like $3.
I can I'll just charge that up now so that it'll be ready for the break in the middle, the ad break.
Oh,
so,
I don't
cool.
know. I might need more than a splash of water. All right. Patreon.com to get ad-free episodes. Patreon.com/This Paranormal Life.
Check it out.
Episodes.
Check it out.
Rory, it is August 1914, just weeks after the outbreak of World War I.
Ooh.
The British Expeditionary Force is in retreat. They've been holding the line around the Belgian town of Mons, but are exposed and vastly outnumbered by the advancing German First Army and their thousands of fresh troops. British Field Marshal John French orders a retreat.
Oh, that's confusing. The British general called John French?
He's a spy.
Dude,
I know they're on the same
be.
team, but he has to be a spy.
Gentlemen, I think we should surrender, no? It's like, it's the first day of the war. They look really strong. You have to give it to the French. They do look better than us.
Boys. We all want to go back home and eat beans on toast, preferably. Let's just give up and go home, no? But his force is huge. A controlled retreat is key. Some will have to stay and fight so that others can turn back. It's a play for time, but these men know that their prospects of survival are slim.
Chin up, chaps. Today we'll do our country proud. An organized retreat is the only way to avoid a full collapse of the line. We will face the enemy and buy our boys some time.
We'll need a bloody miracle to make it out of this one alive, sir.
Well, you best pray for one, Smith. God save the king!
God save the king!
God save the king!
Come and have a go if you think you're hard enough, mate. The men began their suicide mission assault, but as expected, the Germans were advancing with strength, and they knew that their hours were numbered. Until maybe, just maybe, their prayers had been heard by someone or something. As the battle raged, strange figures appeared in the smoke and mist and amassed along the British position. Sir, reinforcements are arriving. I didn't know we had support.
Neither did I.
Hang on, what regiment is that? Look at their uniforms. What the bloody hell? Unaffected by the roar of machine gun fire and the bombardment of artillery, these reinforcements marched to the front of the British line, and from here the British soldiers got a closer look. These things were ethereal, ghostly, and dressed in strange uniforms. I ain't seen no uniform like that. At least not outside a museum.
My God, Smith! They are the English bowmen from the Battle of Agincourt. It's a miracle. Our prayers have been answered. God save England! God save the King! God save the King!
And with that, the ghostly front line in 15th century battle gear let loose a volley of arrows deep into the German line.
Damn.
The German advance was slowed, and the British continued their controlled retreat as the Ghost Army held the line. All with the effect of saving untold British lives. It wasn't long before reports of this rescue reached home, and with them, a whole host of other extraordinary accounts from that day. It wasn't just medieval archers from 500 years before. Other strange tales emerged. These included bizarre protective clouds that followed the British around the battlefield, and even reports of celestial beings in the sky over the battlefield.
Very cool.
These winged heavenly creatures inspired the name that would be connected with these events forever, the Angels of Mons.
Wow.
Rory, have you ever heard of the Angels of Mons?
Never heard of them before in my life. I mean, angels is an interesting word to choose for whatever this thing is, because these are ghosts. They're not angels. Angels, my understanding of how they work is they are from heaven. They come down, they got wings, little halo, sometimes a harp. They don't have longbows. They're not dressed in British uniforms,
Yeah, well...
I think a lot of times the guys dressed in British uniforms in the olden days, they were the devils. When the Empire was up and running.
Like the White Devil.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
I mean, yeah, you say that, but haven't we covered that, some of the angels were badass? Like the Archangel Gabriel, I don't know. There's one of those Archangel motherfuckers. He had like a giant sword, and there's like statues of him, like he's got like a 2-handed +3 broadsword, and he's like chopping the devil in half. So I think sometimes they were warriors.
Okay.
It's a great point. I think right now we don't know a whole lot. It feels like, to be honest, we have two ends of the spectrum things there. We have, fittingly, spectral beings, kind of see-through people on the battlefield. But even then, that's amongst the mist and fog of the kind of muddy Belgian terrain, as well as something in the sky, and then some kind of cloud on the battlefield.
Yeah, so it's a strange mix.
It's a little confusing so far. Strangely, this name, the Angel of Mons, might be familiar to you or our listeners, because we did a bonus episode years ago about the Hound of Mons.
That does sound familiar, yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember who hosted that. I think you might have hosted that.
Did I?
It was a demonic beast, potentially engineered by the German army to stalk British soldiers.
Oh, it does sound familiar, actually.
So, and it is the same Mons in Belgium. So clearly, this was a kind of paranormal hotspot. Like, I don't want to just gloss over that fact. That is strange.
Yeah.
Right? That during World War I, and there was a lot of it was the whole world, guys. There was a lot of
Famously
battles.
so.
So the fact that on one battlefield in particular, there was both cryptids and angels fighting in the battle.
Could you imagine being one of the soldiers who was an angel come down? And it's like, he strings the harp and he's like, "Fear not, my children. I have come down to protect you with my heavenly voice." And you're like, "Awesome. That's great. Glad you're here." They have a night beast. They have a wolf made of darkness and shadows. Yeah. He's eaten like 4 guys this morning. So... is there a couple more angels up there that want to come down?
Oh shit, I'm going to need to call this one in. Guys, it's a 1092. We have a night beast in Mons. It's so clear the call is going badly. Shit, really? You're really busy? Oh, I don't know what to tell them. All right, I'll just make something up. All right, guys, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go back just to point them in the right direction. Show them directions.
Okay. Yeah, it's okay. You are coming back though. You are for sure coming back.
For sure. Oh, put on a pot of coffee because me and the boys, we're gonna be back any second.
Yeah.
but don't stop fighting.
Can you bring...
Because don't rely on us coming. Definitely try and... You should probably run. Between me and you, quick sidebar, Colonel, they're friggin' dead. They're friggin' dead. I think if you run now, if you take the one last car, I think you can get out of here.
Should we pray?
Between me and you, I ain't coming back, Chief.
Should we pray or something?
I am the prayer response team. The fact that I'm leaving, it tells you everything there is to know about the situation at hand.
Can I speak to your manager? Is Jesus here? Jesus! We're getting eaten out here.
Listen, we don't want to involve the big guy, okay? Let's just keep this between me and you. Here, I'll pay you, bud. I don't want this going back to HQ. Let's just get you out of here.
Although, I'm going to start setting up your houses up there, because they're not going to be here for long.
As I say, Rory, clearly a paranormal hotspot. Let's get a quick artist's interpretation of what that day might have looked like to those soldiers.
Oh boy.
Behold!
Wow, okay, yeah, this is kind of what I assumed it was going to look like. You have basically your typical World War I standoff, men in trenches pointing guns at other men approaching down a field, running kind of at each other. In the middle of the field, though, there are medieval archers, transparent archers, firing arrows kind of at their enemies, similar to some sort of Elden Ring summon.
Yeah, it's very Age of Empires. You ever play Age of Empires?
Oh, yeah. I used to play that all the time. I mean, mostly just to start a mission, cheat immediately, and get a guy in a Ferrari with a bazooka to ride in and just blow up the enemy armies.
Age of Empires was so funny.
It was so unhinged.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
And like, it was one of those games where, like, I suppose the idea was that there was quite a high skill ceiling of like what was possible in terms of strategy in the game.
Right.
But I feel like anytime I tried to play the game properly and spend, I would go online, play someone, and I would spend the first like 20 minutes of the battle farming and gathering resources. And then I would just get steamrolled by 6 legions of samurai. I'm like, that is so expensive. How did he afford the samurai 20 minutes into the game? That's
crazy. You gotta
crazy.
know the cheats, man.
Clearly.
Big Daddy, I think that was one of them.
Okay.
That's how I played all those games. I think there was a right way to play it, and then my way, which was just cheating immediately and ruining it. Same as when I played Zoo Tycoon. They were like, you can do anything. You could build the zoo of your dreams, attract customers, build rides. Anything is possible. And 12-year-old me is like, release the tigers. Like, are you sure? And lock the doors. Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, we said anything is possible, but release the tigers.
You've almost completed your roller coaster. Start the ride. Are you sure? People will die. Start the ride and release the tigers. How did you get tigers in Roller Coaster Tycoon? Big Daddy.
Rory, this image, fair play, just an artist's interpretation, but this appeared in the London Illustrated News shortly after these events transpired. Now, fair enough, this sounds absolutely wild. I'll give it to you. But there should be an awful lot of witnesses, given that this happened on a battlefield. And yes, this story is backed up by many soldiers who were there that day.
Okay.
Brigadier General John Charteris wrote in his memoir, which was published after the war, about, quote, angels of the Lord clad in white bearing a flaming sword,
Whoa!
appearing before the German forces at the Mons battle, forbidding their advance.
Oh, okay, these dudes are better than the dog.
Yeah.
Flaming swords?
Yeah.
I think this is the plot of Lord of the Rings Return of the King.
Yeah.
Where Aragorn realizes they're not strong enough to defeat Sauron and his army by themselves. So he recruits ghosts to help him. And they kind of charge into the battlefield and win it in the end.
It's a tough one to break to the German scientists, isn't it? After they've spent 8 years creating the hellhound in a lab, genetically splicing. They're all like, they're in the lab like in Oppenheimer, toasting to the victory. Like, oh, amazing. This thing's gonna, it's snarling in the background. This thing's gonna, whoa, stay back. This thing's gonna savage the British on the battlefield. Then a sweaty looking guy comes in with a telegram. They have God on their side. What?
Turns out, yeah.
Yeah.
He's kind of OP as well.
God's kind of like Taylor Swift, kind of given the final presidential endorsement at the 11th hour. God finally broke his silence and said, nah, I'm not on the German side. It's like, should we, the dog's there. We should still just deploy it, shouldn't we? Phyllis Campbell, a nurse who tended the British soldiers, described how men she administered brought strange tales back from the front line, claiming that, quote, everyone who had fought from Mons to Ypres saw the apparitions.
Wow.
One British officer described, quote, a strange cloud between the Germans and the British, which protected the British against the enemy. And one small detail, which isn't that small but is interesting, is that it wasn't just the British who saw it. There was, of course, an entire other side of the battlefield, and it's said that many German soldiers were captured as prisoners that day. They just surrendered, even when there was no need for it. And some of them were asked by the British afterwards, why did you surrender? And they said, there were just so many more of you than us, even though the British were outnumbered that day.
Ah, that's interesting.
So it seems that they really did see these angels, or whatever happened, as British soldiers too.
Yeah. So we're seeing it from both sides. I mean, I don't know what it was like fighting in the front lines. I assume there is quite a bit going on. Bombs going off, grenades flying, bullets shooting across the field. So, I don't know. You can kind of look at that in two ways. Either one, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. Maybe you could have seen something that you mistook for a ghost. Or you could say, there's so much stuff going on that if you are getting distracted by ghosts, the ghosts are really there.
We've talked about this before. We have talked about this before in the context of war, and it doesn't happen very often in this paranormal life, but we talk about this idea of, it all comes back to witnesses, reliable witnesses versus unreliable witnesses. And soldiers are a funny one because yes, they do suffer from things like PTSD, psychological afflictions because of the severity of their conditions. But yet on the other side, they are the people so locked into reality, it seems almost absurd that they would be coming back from the front line being like, there's ghosts back there.
Right. That was your takeaway from the
Yeah.
whole thing? Granted, that might be the human brain's way of kind of comprehending the pure evil that is perceived during any war. It's like, I saw demons and it was us. We are the demons.
All right, calm down, young lean, with these rap lyrics. I saw the demons and it was me, bro. It is true, but I mean, getting back to the point of this whole advance and attack and situation on the front line, something happened here. It wasn't like we saw the ghosts and they were off in the distance, like flossing on the battlefield while they were trying to kill each other. The British should have been crushed in that moment, and yet they weren't. And the Germans were pushed back despite their greater numbers. So that's another twist to this. It's like there was a mechanic to the ghosts. They didn't just show up for a light show. They kind of came out of nowhere, helped in the battle, and then dipped.
Yeah. I wonder if anyone got hit by one of those arrows. That's what I want to know.
That's a good point.
Or would a ghost arrow go through you?
Yeah.
Or would it hit your ghost in your body? Do we have ghosts in our bodies before we die?
That's an intro. Let's start another episode. That's like an intro question. Do we have ghosts in our...
You know, and then we die and the ghost comes out?
You're saying that if the ghost arrow hits the ghost in us, we die? It's a very, like, if you die in the Matrix, you die in real life moment.
Yeah. I don't know. They didn't teach me that at Paranormal Harvard.
It's like in... you'll see it in cartoons and movies and stuff sometimes. There'll be a thing about, like... I can't think of an example right now, but in popular culture, sometimes people will get separated from their shadow.
Yeah.
And then, like, the shadow will die.
Yeah,
and it's like, bro, what happens to me if my shadow dies?
Or like in, doesn't Doctor Strange do that in the Marvel movies? He like punches you out of your body.
Out of your soul.
He sucker punches your ghost out of your mortal coil.
Yeah.
So maybe it's happening with arrows. I don't know.
It's a great point, Rory, and I'm glad you brought it up because we don't see stories like this often. Ghosts in battle. Ghosts interacting with humans in a violent, visceral way.
Yeah.
With that said, there have been occasional tales that are similar. There was an episode we did, and I can't remember the name of it, but it covered like an early American colony tale where a town was attacked by ghosts with like ghost guns. I don't know if you remember this.
No.
But there was like guys trekking in the woods, and then they saw these ghosts, and then they were like, "Oh shit, it's ghosts." And then a real bullet hit a tree, and we were like, "Oh shit, ghost bullets hit like real bullets."
Ghosts shouldn't have guns. I think that's safe to say. I don't know why that feels so wrong. Swords, maybe. Hammers. But a ghost with a Glock?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That seems weird.
And yet you say that, but there are so many ghost stories associated with the American Civil War.
Right, yeah, of course, revolutionary ghosts.
Yeah.
I mean, those are old-timey muskets.
Still a gun.
Yeah, I guess so.
But look, it might seem strange to have ghosts with weapons, but when we think about the sheer number of people who lost their lives in these situations, and the sheer number of people on their knees praying in the dugouts, let me tell you, I hope those were angels that came down, because if they weren't, nobody's listening upstairs. There were so many people praying on Earth. If nobody showed up, that means there's nobody listening, buddy. Look, in the living hell of war, so much death is occurring that the lines between kind of the spirit world and the physical world might start to blur.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be pretty gutted if your enemies started praying and angels came down and you're like, oh man, we're getting crushed here. We need to pray for our lives. And you pray and demons rise. And you're like, all right, we're clearly, okay, we're the bad guys. I don't care. We'll take it. Demons, go. Go, demons. Get them. Sick them.
Sadly, I think the problem with getting your prayers answered is probably the fact that praying to God is probably like trying to get Oasis tickets. Like you put your hands together, getting you down your knees, and you're like, God, I really need this one this time. And if you are getting a message back, it's to say, you are 565,000th in the queue today. It's like, oh man, even if I stay in the queue all day, what's the chance? So I think even on the battlefield, it's like, you're praying to God for protection. He's like, sorry, bro. Other side got their prayers in 5 milliseconds in faster than you.
Yeah.
I'm fulfilling their prayers first.
Whereas praying to the devil, he's wide open. There's no line. You can walk right in there.
You sound like you're advertising for the devil.
You can walk right in. He's like eating a Chinese takeaway. Like, oh shit. Oh, puts it away. Like, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm the devil. What do you want? So I was hoping for a prayer. To me? Anything. Yeah, what do you want? Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, sorry,
I won't even add in a loophole. I'll just give you one.
Yeah, we're doing a special time offer.
Do you want a beer or something? No one comes down here anymore. This is really cool, actually.
No, I've actually got a war to go back. Sorry, the war. Yeah, for sure. Maybe after, though, we could grab a beer. As I say, maybe in this unique and dark circumstance of the First World War, the lines between the spirit world and our world become blurry. The veil becomes ripped. And as it happens, there are many other examples of paranormal events during World War I. We'll get into a wild one after a couple more words from today's sponsors. Rory, we are in Iprais, in Belgium, not far from Mons. It's 1915, 1 year after the incident at Mons. Iprais was one of the bloodiest battlefields of World War I.
Ooh.
It's believed, stay with me here, that around 500,000 soldiers died at Iprais alone.
Oh my God.
And on one night in Iprais, Second Lieutenant William M. Spate sat in his dugout, in relative quiet, looking out over the mist. In the dim light, he could see something in the mist, swirling before it took shape.
What? Who goes there?
His eyes definitely were not playing tricks on him. He could see a figure approaching, but it stopped at a distance.
Parsons? Jesus, is that you?
But the figure turned and walked away without saying a word. William Spate was aghast. He was right. It had been Parsons. The only problem was, Parsons died earlier that morning.
Whoa.
He had seen it with his own eyes. On the following night, Spate invited a fellow officer to the dugout in case the ghost soldier decided to return, so that he had a witness.
Smart. That's a smart move.
And to ensure he wasn't losing his mind. Sure enough, under the cover of night, he was back that very evening. The men sat up, shaking with fear and excitement. But this time, Parsons didn't just turn and leave. He turned and pointed to a spot on the floor of the dugout, then looked at the men, and then vanished.
Whoa.
They didn't waste any time. On this paranormal hunch, Spate ordered his men to dig in the spot that had been pointed out.
They hit a landmine immediately. He was trying to warn them. clearly leading us towards ancient treasure. Boom! The entire platoon is detonated.
I like that he pretty much knew it was going to happen, but wasn't sure. He was like, Smythe, I need you to do something for me. Yes, sir. I need you to dig on that spot over there. Can do, sir. Do you think I should... Sir, where are you going? He's hiding behind a rock with his hands over his ears. Be quick about it, Smythe. It was there they discovered a deadly trap. A German bomb rigged to blow in 13 hours' time.
Oh God, it was a bomb?
Packed into a secret tunnel right under the British lines. The explosives were defused, and the platoon owed their lives to their fallen friend.
Do we have time bombs in World War I? That seems pretty advanced.
Yes. I'm going to say yes.
Okay. That's the first time I've ever heard you say yes like that before.
Yes, old boy, I think you need to understand that sometimes a stiff drink and a cigar is all you need on the front lines, boy, to get you in shape. Of course we had time bombs.
Okay. I'm sure this is a real factual story, but it does feel like the ending of a James Bond movie, where he has to kind of cut the wire right when it reaches 007. You know?
Yeah, no, I think we did. I think if you think about it, I think these days we probably have very depressingly sophisticated bombs. But I think if you think about it, like back then, like
it's probably like a real clock.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a timer,
okay.
and then like it's a simple circuit. I think we pretty comfortably would have had one of those.
We were talking about some Looney Tunes shit.
Right, Acme TNT dynamite.
Yeah.
We need to bring back dynamite.
I don't think
we need to bring back.
I don't think we do.
We need to bring back putting sticks of dynamite in things.
I did think as a child, my life going forward would involve a little more dynamite. Quicksand. Yeah.
Venus flytraps.
Yeah, I was petrified
the size
of
of men.
Yeah, of course.
Things like I thought jungle rope bridges.
Yeah.
I thought my life was gonna be a Scooby-Doo cartoon, basically.
Yeah.
The f***ed up thing is, to this day, I still don't know if quicksand is real.
Yeah, it is real. It's 100% real.
Is it though?
Oh, yes. It's not like speculation. It is real. It's a real thing. Don't go in quicksand. Don't move around. You will die.
I don't think it is real.
It for sure is.
I don't think it is.
I guess we do kind of have quicksand in our modern day lives, just in the form of student loans. Kind of an entity that slowly sinks you into death and despair, kind of eats away at you every day, sinking slowly into the darkness until eventually you die.
Yeah. It is depressing that even as children, I remember our school explaining to us the concept of a student loan. And I remember even as like young, optimistic kids, as soon as they told us, if you just don't pay it for 25 years, you just never have to pay it. We were all like, oh, off the hook.
Amazing.
Because we were all like, we're never paying that shit back.
Yeah, there's no way.
How am I ever going to make that much money? And I will say, trending in that direction. I think I've paid back nothing. I've still owe 20-something thousand pounds.
Wow.
I don't know how y'all do it really, because I owe about 20-something thousand. And that's not a lot in the scheme of things, but like compared to other people, but that is insurmountable. I don't really see where I'm going to find 20K kind of spare lying around.
Hanging around, yeah. Whenever I hear about the prices in America, it's insane. People are like, yeah, finished my studies. I'm entering the working world. 100 grand in the hole.
Yeah, or
it's
more.
Like, holy Jesus Christ.
I feel like our economies are so different now, though. Like, I don't really understand anything in America anymore. It's like, welcome to New York City, where a house is $17 million. A coffee will run you about $105.
Yeah.
It's like, and the annual salary of a barista is $78,000. It's like, I can't make any of this add up anymore. I just don't really get it.
This is a game of Monopoly that's gone on too long.
Ironically, it's like wartime Germany where people are wheeling around wheelbarrows of cash to buy bread.
But then they probably come over to the UK and we're like, it's much simpler over here. It's a potato for £1 or a pint for £5. And they're like, what do any of those words mean? You guys are the weird ones.
Right, how much is a house? 600 potatoes. What? Didn't you just say 600 big potatoes, mate? Not small one, not piddly little small ones, obviously.
You want a house in the UK, you got to pay your stamp duty. Duty for stamps? What is that?
And of course you can't get your keys to the house without tipping your hat to the old king. Is that a turn of phrase, or is that something you literally have to do? It's another tax. Yeah, it's another tax. The old tip of the hat to the king.
That's 3 spuds and a fiver.
It's so stupid.
It's like, I'll give you £20 to never talk to me again. How about that?
This is American tourists arriving in London. It's our cabbie. He's like, how much will that be? How much will that be for the black cab ride? 3 spuds and a fiver, mate. Either that or a voucher for Witherspoons. What? I don't know what any of this stuff is.
Big Benny, that's 3 spuds and a fiver. Bucky P, 4 spuds and a fiver.
But Rory, how badass is that story? You couldn't even put that story in a movie because no one would believe it. But yet we have quotes from Spade about what happened.
That is pretty cool. A ghost of a comrade coming back to warn you. I don't know why being a ghost means you can see through floors and detect where bombs are.
Well, if you can walk through floors, you can. That's as good as seeing through them.
Yeah. Having a ghost on your side in a war is actually proving to be quite a valuable asset, to the point where before the war even begins, I say we just kill one of our own guys. Start off with a ghost.
Right.
Don't wait
for human sacrifice at the beginning.
100%. Don't wait for someone to fall in battle. Just be like, hey, we're going to have a really great start if one of us is already dead.
Yeah.
And it ain't me.
So if it's so good, it should just be you.
Can you imagine if your commanding officer was like, I think the way we're going to win this is if one of us is a ghost. Shoots himself in the head in front of you. Bang! You're like, all right, should we all go home? Let's surrender for sure.
He had all the plans in his head as well. He didn't write anything down. His ghost, through some kind of like ghostly time travel, he wakes up as a ghost like 50 years in the future. He's like, oh, I overshot. Did we win? No, of course we didn't win. You killed yourself in the battlefield before you even begun.
That's a sin, by the way. You went straight to hell. You didn't even stay on Earth.
Look, I'm selecting key stories here, but there really are countless tales. In one story, a Canadian soldier was led into no man's land in the middle of the night. A nonsensical suicide mission, but he was led by the ghost of his brother, who was killed in the war 2 years earlier. As if in a trance, he remained asleep in no man's land, and when he woke up panicked, he snuck back to his position back at the dugout and found it had been completely bombarded by artillery.
Wow.
If his brother hadn't guided him to safety, he would have been blown to bits.
That's cool. God damn, he sleptwalked through a battlefield and then woke up and the place where he was supposed to be sleeping had been destroyed.
Exactly.
That is crazy. Man, talk about getting lucky.
It goes on and on. There's tales of colonels whose arms were blasted off by grenades, and then that guy died, and then later was seen back on the battlefield with both his arms, which is great news for the afterlife, to be honest. But what we really need today, obviously, is evidence, isn't it? Because so much of what has taken place is anecdote. Unfortunately, in the case of the Angels of Mons, I wish we could say that we've got ghost arrows, like you said.
Yeah.
But I really don't. Some said that the Germans hit by the arrows simply died and hit the ground, but there weren't any kind of arrows made in heaven lodged in their bodies.
Right, they maybe just felt it, like felt a force kind of hitting them.
Yeah, it just like, I guess in the same way that like there's occasional stories from around the world of like ghosts killing people or like paranormal entities killing people.
Right.
And it's like, okay, what's the technical post-mortem cause of death? Probably like cardiac arrest or so, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point. You're usually, when you're quote unquote attacked by an entity in a horror movie, they just find the person like frozen.
Yeah.
Like, they're like frozen. It's like
They
their
just
heart
end
just
it.
stopped.
They end your life then and there.
Yeah. They killed your ghost.
Yeah. It's, it kind of makes sense. It's like if you were a ghost and you could kill someone, kind of Avada Kedavra style.
Yeah, just
like your methods are more sophisticated than blunt force instruments. Like you don't need a knife if you're a ghost.
did say some of these ghosts have guns.
And swords, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So they still do have weapons.
Absolutely. I guess, like so many ghost cases, it's mostly eyewitness testimony. And I would be remiss if I didn't bring up kind of one more element to the story, which I guess doesn't quite sit right with me, Rory. On this podcast, we have, let's say, a love-hate relationship with the government, right? That
Sure.
is, we love to hate the SOBs. You know, often on this Paranormal Life, we talk about cover-ups, right? How governments or militaries might hide paranormal information from the public. Well, the thing about war is they actually might have wanted to do the opposite. It's said that the Angel of Mons story had such a positive impact on the morale of the general public in Britain that the government allowed and even encouraged the spread of the story. During World War I, countries were utilizing propaganda like never before, and they needed total support from their citizens. And this story would have really done the trick, basically saying, look, like, we're the good guys, God's on our side. He's literally sending angels to the front line.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think that's fueled almost every war since mankind began wars, was people thinking God was on our side.
It's kind of the oldest trick in the book,
Yeah.
some would say.
Yeah. So I can completely understand why the military and the government would want to spread that message. Unfortunately, that does muddy the water a little bit because now we know that they had an agenda to make people, as many people as they could, believe that there were angels fighting with the British soldiers.
Some believe quite conspiratorially that the government may have been highly involved, even things like convincing and paying church ministers to spread the story at Sunday service.
Wow.
I guess all we know is in unprecedented times like those, anything was possible. So we are left with a pretty strange and frustrating picture. What seems to be a core, genuine paranormal experience for many people on the front line. People whose heads were not really in the clouds and yet kind of muddied by the propaganda machine of war.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of every episode of This Paranormal Life, we do have to decide whether we think our given case is real or not, whether we think it's paranormal or not. I think this is genuinely one of the strangest cases that's come across my desk because rarely do we have a case with so many people swearing blind.
Yeah.
They've seen it, and yet no paranormal evidence. Where's your head at?
Yeah. You know, this one kind of reminds me of another case that we investigated. One of my favorites, actually, which was third man syndrome.
Yeah.
Where people who are going through a particularly difficult or life-threatening experience, they will commonly see an individual that previously wasn't with them, and that individual kind of guides them towards safety or helps them out, pulls them from a wreckage, leads them to a town if they're stranded in the middle of the desert, that sort of thing. And then as soon as they're safe, they kind of turn to thank them. There's no one there.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing a very dramatic version of that, where there are soldiers who are being killed in a war and hundreds of ghosts rise up to defend them. Not third men, but fourth men, fifth men, sixth men.
Yes, not third men, but the Third Royal Brigade of Ghostly Bastards.
Right.
900 strong in a Roman formation.
Yeah. And for the record, we did actually, if you haven't listened to this as a slight spoiler, we did actually give third man syndrome a yes.
Right.
We weren't ready to rule out the possibility of this being a real paranormal phenomenon. Today, we are dealing with something a lot more dramatic and a lot bigger scale. And I think to have no real evidence of a claim this wide is a bit hard, a bit difficult. So am I saying that there were no paranormal experiences during World War I or II or any of the
Right,
wars?
I should say, what are we coming down on? I think keep this to the Angel of Mons, the Angels of Mons, because I think World War I is too big.
We'll definitely do.
Too big.
Yeah, there's more cases to cover. As we said, the Hound, the Gremlins, there's a lot out there. But in terms of ghosts rising from the grave with bows and arrows, firing
Angels,
at enemy
I think.
soldiers. Yeah, sorry, angels. It's going to be a no from me this week.
Damn. I do think that is pretty fair. I agree. I think like third man syndrome, I really want to give it a yes, because this is not the cast of your local UFO convention, people who stand to gain from the paranormal. This is people whose lives were completely and utterly ruined by the war. They've seen thousands of their comrades mowed down in truly the most awful circumstances imaginable. So I want to believe them. that this is like the most horrible time of their life and they saw something unbelievable.
Yeah.
That being said, I agree. I think for the way we discuss ghosts and phenomenon on this show and the way we try to break it down and really nail down what's happening, I don't quite get it. And I think I would love it if someone could come along with any other anecdotes or any other information on this. Please send it through to this paranormallifepodcast@gmail.com. Otherwise, today it is a double no.
Yeah, but if you are someone who knows how to summon an army of medieval ghost archers to fight for your side, please do get in contact. As Kit said, we have occasionally, had a little tuffle with the government, let's say. Occasionally we will butt heads in the form of us being summoned to court for tax evasion and also conspiracy to overthrow. These are real threats to the podcast and to the commune. And I really think just we'd love to send a little message.
Right.
If like the head of the FBI is sleeping at night and kind of an arrow just goes through his bedroom window.
Right.
And he's like, what the f-? And he looks up and like the arrow just goes away, then he'll know to stop messing with us.
Yeah. I think it's a good
Maybe
plan.
the arrow doesn't go away. Maybe the arrow finds its target.
Yeah, so
That's all I'm saying. I can't say anymore. Because we are recording this.
I think you've gone too far already though, because I think it would have worked if you had, you know what I'm saying? I think you could have got away with that if you hadn't said that you would be telling the archers to do that.
The archers do what they want.
It, so.
I summon them and I give them orders, but they do what they want. Between you and me, it doesn't even have to be a ghost. We just need a guy.
I think, honestly, a ghost army could be pretty useful for the British Podcast Awards listener choice voting panel next year. I think, because I don't think we can really beat Help I Sexted My Boss in the kind of popularity contest of the vote next year. But if we have a ghost army from Agincourt,
they're going to rise up and be like, who shall I slay, master? And we're like, actually, we just need you to create a Gmail address and then go to the URL so you can vote for This Paranormal Life.
Anything for you, my liege.
Yeah, don't say it so weird. Once you're done with that as well, if you could go on to the Apple Podcast Store and Spotify.
Hold on, what are these other podcasts? Help I Sexted My Boss?
Don't listen to those. No,
that sounds like a jolly good time.
How do you know what sexting is? Podcast. How do you know what sexting is? You're 100 years old.
These guys are very funny.
No.
I'm going to be sure to cast them a vote too.
Who is this Jonathan Rogan everyone's talking about? No. All right, back to hell. Back to hell with you,
Joseph
you son
Rogan,
of a bitch.
if anything. Not Jonathan Rogan. Shit.
I hit him with an arrow. Get back down there.
All right, motherfuckers. Is anyone else smart enough to listen to Help I Sex My Boss? Yeah, I thought not. All right, cast your votes for This Paranormal Life.
Hell yeah.
Thank you for listening to this week's podcast all about the Angels of Mons. The second time we've gone to Mons, but maybe we'll have to go in person. I do think that would be a very depressing historical trip, but very interesting.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
This is the thing about getting old. The older I get, the more I like history. It's really frustrating. It's so fascinating.
Yeah, and you think you won't?
You think you won't.
You think you're like, hey, I don't give a fart about history.
Yeah.
I'm young and I'm cool. You know what I care about? The future.
The future's where it's at.
I want a cyborg head, and I want microchips in my arms. I want to vape using an electric cigarette.
Hell
I'm all
yeah,
about the future. And then you get a little bit older, and you're like, huh. Ancient Greece is kind of cool, though.
Right.
Like, it does kind of slap.
You're kind of staying up late watching TV one night, and at 11 p.m. on the History Channel, they're like, next, a deep dive into the Irish Civil War. And you're like, I didn't even realize there was a Civil War. Maybe I'll watch 5 minutes just to get the gist.
Right, yeah.
Just so I'm not caught out next time it comes up. And then next thing you know, you are ass deep in some history textbooks.
Yeah.
So it's a slippery slope.
It really is. It really is. I think you can tell a lot about a person by the part of history that they're into as well. Like, that tells you a lot, if they're into, Edo period Japanese history, probably a bit of a nerd. like myself.
Aren't they all nerds then?
No.
Into World War I, bit of a nerd.
Well, yeah, for sure. That's an egghead. Yeah, but you could be into some cool history.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah, that's the coolest one.
You know, sometimes it just is the best.
It really is.
If you can't get enough history, that's the great thing about this Paranormal Life. It's secretly history. If you like history, that's what we talk about.
History and lies
everything that
combined
has happened on this show has happened in the past, pretty much. So, except for time travelers. And if you can't get enough, head over to patreon.com/This Paranormal Life, where every single week we're putting up crazy amounts of bonus content. It is a kind of, if you're new to Patreon, it's essentially you can sign up, become a member of our Patreon, and you get access to years and years and years of This Paranormal Life episodes instantly for as little as $5 or your local currency. Lots of fun behind the scenes posts, weekly after party episodes, monthly bonus episodes.
Oh, yeah.
Physical rewards, including a gold and silver membership coin.
Hey, you know what? I'll tell you something right now. I was, sorry to bring it up again, Kit.
Go on then.
At the Apple podcast event that I was at this morning, I was talking to a lot of other podcasters there who have been doing their show for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. And I had the joy of telling them that we've been doing this show for about 7 years now. And we're at a point where we have Phil, our editor. We have a little studio here full of paranormal treasures and cool stuff that we get to record in. And everyone asked the same question. How the f*** do you afford that?
Right.
And I had the pleasure of telling them that This Paranormal Life is community funded. That the reason that we've been able to make the show for 7 years is because of the people that listen to us and the people that support us every week through Patreon, through the bonus content. So we really appreciate it. I was so proud to be able to tell people that we have these people who listen to the show that support us. And you guys might not be ghost soldiers with bows and arrows that can kill anyone that we want.
Some of them are.
But you're better than that. You're nice.
For sure, finish the thought.
Yeah, I felt like I was going really...
Yeah, that was really going somewhere as well.
Stretch there, and then I kind of fumbled it right at the last second. Sorry, just what are they? They are nice. Well, you guys are you're amazing.
Yeah, and incredibly, and they've been unbelievably supportive.
That's the one. Yeah,
and in many cases, unbelievably loyal to the show.
Nice.
There's been people.
Sorry.
Yeah, we get it. They're nice.
Really.
They've been listening to the show for years and years and years, which is blows my mind. Really, really cool.
It really does.
Because I've said it many times before. We are first and foremost podcast fanatics ourselves. That's why we got into all this. So we know what it is like to be, so loyal to your favorite shows, to live your life, grow up with those shows. So it's so dope that people have been doing that with This Paranormal Life. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. Thank you for listening every week. Thank you for the people who support us on Patreon. You're actually, if you support us on Patreon, you're kind of our bosses. So let us know who you want hit with a old-timey arrow.
All right. I think we need to end that line of questioning.
We should probably do it.
At the end of every episode, we like to give a shout out to those who are on the shout out tier.
Some of the nice people,
Yes, we get it.
Sorry, I'm just getting nervous now.
So a special thank you to Zoe Miller. Zoe Miller, the ramp killer. That is right. Zoe, not everyone knows this, actually did the 900 before Tony Hawk.
Oh, shit.
Yep.
Okay, skateboarding ramps.
Yep.
We just
the ramp killer.
Yeah, ramp killer doesn't mean anything to anyone, so we have to clarify.
Well, I said Tony Hawk and then 900, so I'm pretty sure they figured out what I was talking about.
After you said ramp killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else does ramp mean to you?
I don't know, like a wheelchair accessible venue.
Why would she be...
I was like,
quote unquote killing those?
That's why I was confused.
I guess you could do a 900 down the wheelchair ramp.
You probably
in a wheelchair.
Could. Yeah. Zoe is the famous X Games skateboarder who every time they drop into a bowl, they go, "It's Miller time."
Right.
And then whips out the coolest tricks you've ever seen.
And Miller has been begging them to stop. We don't want to be associated with skateboarding. And lastly, that was quick. Thank you today to Wanderer of the North.
Whoa. Oh, you know this motherfucker got a bow and arrow.
Ghost or not.
That's amazing. I assume they are a ghost. With a name like that, they gotta be.
It's strange to be called Wanderer of the North and to also have a Patreon account.
Right.
It's like Hello, Patreon customer services. Yeah, my subscription bounced this month. I think I got a new Amex card, so I don't know if could someone please. I've been emailing for days and no one's getting back to me. So if someone could just help me out.
I mean, how north is this guy?
It's like,
Pole,
we just
or-
need to update your address. Right, it's the north. Okay, is there more to it than
yeah,
that?
it's gotta be.
No, just write the north on a letter and it'll get to me.
Who's he, Santa Claus?
The call is over. Definitely Santa. Thank you, Wanderer of the North. And thank you, Zoe. And to everyone else who is on that tier. We'll be back with more shout outs from next week.
All those nice people.
Thanks for being nice. Thanks for being you. Thanks for tuning into this Paranormal Life podcast. This week we are back on Friday on Patreon with an after party.
Whoa!
And then on Tuesday again with a brand new Paranormal Tale.
Bye-bye.
Oh yeah, and I've written here, come and have a go if you think you're hard enough, mate. Look at their uniforms. What the bloody hell? So shit.